It is Wednesday, the third day of October 2012. I am your host, Alex Jones, and I want to thank you all for joining us today, no matter how you're listening, whether it be on XM 166 or local AM and FM affiliates in your area. And, of course, video streaming of the radio show at prisonplanet.tv and InfoWarsNews.com. As well as the free audio streams and podcast at prisonplanet.com and Infowars.com. Infowars.com because there is a war on for your mind. Prisonplanet.com because the globalists, in their own words, want to construct and build a prison planet where from cradle to grave you are under eugenicist population reduction control. The humans that will be allowed to continue on in the future will be dumbed down, suboid toys of the globalists so they can feel superior and remember their victory over humanity. And that, of course, is paraphrasing many of their own words that we document in my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement. Okay, Gerald Celente is joining us to take your phone calls on the accelerating global engineered collapse in the third hour, always popular on the show and informative. And we have Pat Shannon, Everything They Ever Told Me Was a Lie, author, very informative investigative journalist who I've known for 17 years, hadn't been on in a few years. He's going to be on with us in the second hour today. Okay, look, I've just got so many stacks of news here. Let me just start on the right and go to the left, not even necessarily the top stories here that we're going to be going over. And by that, there's just so much. I'm not going to even the most important stories first because, quite frankly, I can't even decide what is most important anymore. I'm normally very decisive. It's just that now the rampant, insane tyranny is so wall-to-wall that I just have my head spinning. And I guess that's exactly where the globalists want us, but it is all insane. One area I do want to get into a little bit later in the hour is the fact that Whole Foods is going around the internet removing videos showing that they are more and more selling genetically modified food. We're talking cross-species chimera stuff. We're talking about crops that grow their own pesticides inside them that kill bugs that eat it. And people are like, well, at least Whole Foods tries to be organic. And the issue there is, if the globalists can take over Whole Foods, they can take anything over. And so it's kind of like, you know, you come home and you find your wife in bed with another man. You know there's hookers downtown on the side of the street. You're not mad at them. You don't have a personal beef with them. It's like, hey, other grocery stores are pure poison. Other restaurants are pure GMO. Why are you mad at Whole Foods? Well, because people spent money there. People have supported it. It's claimed it's all about organic. It's helped lead the way, being founded here in Austin, Texas, and has become a multi-billion-dollar a year profitable company. And now it's meeting with Monsanto heads. Now it's giving money to the Monsanto's former lawyer, who is the director of the FDA. I mean, all of this is in the report Aaron Dykes put out yesterday at Infowars.com. Monsanto shutting down videos exposing that they sell GMO. All the documents, the SEC filings, all of it. So the issue is the Founding Fathers didn't really get mad at British officers. They were just the enemy. But everybody got mad at Benedict Arnold because he'd been a successful, patriotic general in the rebellion. In the New Republic. And then it turned out at the end he flipped sides and was a double-crosser. And so he's known as a Benedict Arnold. That's why people are so hurt. That's why people are so angry. I saw some moron comment on Infowars.com this morning in an article that Mike Adams wrote for Natural News that we posted. And he says, YouTube censors organic spies video exposing Whole Foods employees lying about GMO, and we'll put that on screen for TV viewers, and I can show people the article that we're actually talking about. And down here in the story, we show how they're removing the videos. We show then in the article down at the bottom, Aaron Dykes' video is posted at the bottom. Aaron Dykes breaks down Whole Foods GMO deception. And then one of the commenters I saw this morning, let me try to find it here, said that boycott Whole Foods. Are you crazy? Why attack one of our own team members? Sure, they are not perfect, but attack them. Who is behind this? Walmart? Wake up, people, said Rick Clay, 2012. Rick, if they can take over Whole Foods and first have a few GMO things, and now more and more, Aaron shops there every day. My wife shops there once a week. We go now, and like a third of it's GMO. I mean, you've got to read every label. Brands that weren't GMO are now GMO. So there's a takeover happening. And instead of going and pressuring Whole Foods, where I've spent tens of thousands of dollars, probably more in the last 20 years, no, I'm supposed to sit down and shut up and just, you know what, Whole Foods, here's my money. I'll eat GMO. Thank you. Or I'll be accused of working for Walmart. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So, hey, bud, you go ahead and go eat your GMO, okay? You go ahead and criticize Mike Adams. You go ahead and attack him. In fact, I'm going to have Kurt Nimmo add Aaron Dykes' great report to that Natural News report up at the top. Well, you guys ask him to add Aaron Dykes' video to the top of that report. I just want to send people there so they can find the article and the other. And the video is Aaron Dykes breaks down Whole Foods GMO deception. Incredible 25-minute report last night. Amazing research. I mean, it's in-depth. You want the in-depth full-spectrum analysis? There it is up at Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. We'll update the Prison Planet version of that naturalnews.com report as well. So, you know what? I said I'd kind of give you all the headlines. I'm going to get back into this whole organic thing in a moment, and it's in the news. Romney admits he and his wife are obsessed with organic, but he is the Monsanto king going back 25 years, helping get it on your table. Obama is even more. I mean, if Romney's the Monsanto king, Obama is the Monsanto Grand Emperor Supreme Bashar. I mean, he is the Grand Mufti, the Poobah, the Raj. He's God, basically, of GMO. I mean, he makes Romney look like a good guy. I've got to be honest. I mean, everything Obama's done, Aaron Dykes breaks it down. And I've got all these articles where Romney, in the last 10 years, has done profiles how at their house, it's nothing but organic, and they're obsessed with it. And then I have all the articles here where the Chinese elite have their own secret farms that have come out, even in LA Times, Associated Press, obsessed with clean water, non-GMO. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, the elite, the Monsanto cafeterias have no GMO. That's London Telegraph, BBC, Associated Press, CBC. Again, they won't eat it, but they want you to eat it, and they don't want you to know with on the labels. And if you say, hey, I think that Whole Foods ought to support Prop 37, you get emails and see comments saying, hey, knock it off, you Walmart supporter. And I'm like, really? I didn't know I was a... It's weird. I like post videos and articles critical of Israel. And then there's comments like, you dirty Israel lover, we're going to kill you. It's just like, okay, I'm against GMO. Shut up, Walmart. Hey, you know, I think it's really dangerous, and a lot of Israelis, you know, don't want to launch a war either. Shut up. Shut up. Stop supporting Israel in the war. I mean, it's like, okay. Because there is a mass mental illness out there. So we're going to be getting into all of that. We're going to get into the big debate tonight. They've been training over off of notes for, well, some cases, weeks. We're going to be getting into more news on GMO. What's exactly in the milk now, the GMO milk? We're going to be telling you about that. That has human cells in the mammary glands, in the udders, into the breast of the bovine mammal, Bovinus familiaris. What's the technical name of a domesticated bovine? Is it bovine familiaris? I don't know. I'm just guessing. You know, canine familiaris, lobo, feline familiaris. I don't know anymore, ladies and gentlemen. I'm an extremist. I'm a bad man. Speaking of that, here's probably our top story, and I'm going to ask the webmasters to repost Paul's article, because he writes stuff in the afternoon, and for whatever reason, stuff written in the afternoon because stuff gets posted about 6 a.m., 8 a.m., 10 a.m., 12, constantly. We got quite a crew, contributors, writers. But stuff after like 4 or 5 seems to just disappear into a memory hole. U.S. Army characterizes people frustrated with mainstream ideologies. That's a quote. As terrorists. And we've got the U.S. Army's own manuals because the Army now is over domestic operations. When they were arresting peaceful protesters a month ago at the DNC, it was in the news. The Army would order police, arrest them, plainclothes Army. And then the Army went to the judges and said, keep these protesters in jail for a few weeks. We don't want them out because protesting's low-level terror. And they presented to the judge the Homeland Security guidelines saying protesting is, quote, low-level terrorism. And cops out there who are in intelligence, you know, the so-called intelligence bureaus, they're all nodding their head. Yeah, you're like, yeah, no, that's what our manuals say. And it's saying just not believing mainstream media, you're a terrorist. Okay. And don't forget, the same government teaches the Founding Fathers are bad. I think we know who the real bad guys are. Anybody badmouth the Founding Fathers, oh, that's the bad guys. Yeah. What would you expect in a foreign takeover? Oh, they would badmouth our founders and those of us that are loyal to the Republic and actually have our heads screwed on straight. Alex Jones here with a very important announcement for truth seekers. We've carried a lot of amazing films and books over the years on the online video bookstore at Infowars.com. And out of all the titles we've carried, one stands out because it is just so chillingly convincing. And that's Dreams from My Real Father by Joel Gilbert, available at Infowars.com. This film exposes the fraud that Obama is like nothing I've seen. If you want to know who Obama's real daddy is, this is the film for you. Don't forget, your purchase supports our broadcast and our growing media network. You'll also find at InfoWarsShop.com, None Dare Call It Conspiracy by Gary Allen, the book that woke me up. We're also carrying Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. This book is coffin nails to the globalist takeover. The Greater Good, the most professional and up-to-date film I've ever seen exposing the scourge that is vaccines. These titles and a lot more are all available at InfoWarsShop.com. You know, the time for screwing around, the time for playing games is over because the hour is getting late, my friends. Look around you at all of the insanity taking place and the massive arms buildup by governments and corporations against the people because criminal elements have seized the institutions. There are a lot of good people within the institutions, but they are being slowly twisted to the dark side. Evil is approaching critical mass, flashpoint, explosion point, jump point, implosion point. That's how tyrannies work. They rot slowly, and then suddenly there's a collapse event, an orgy event of evil. And we're now just beginning the descent. I've got crime news, without even looking for crime news, of riots here, riots there, people occupying buildings, occupying stores, mass shootings, hijackings all over the country of 18-wheelers, of trains, cops getting shot all over the place. Citizens being killed. Crime is exploding right now. Major heist. Museums being robbed every day. Without even looking, museums are being robbed. But it's in this article, it's in that article. They never say, hey, crime's exploding. And then, of course, it's famously known that big cities cook their crime numbers down so they can claim they're doing a good job. Meanwhile, police more and more admit, they've even had the New York Police Union multiple times come out in the last few years to say, look, we don't want to give someone sitting on a park bench more than 5 minutes a ticket. They have those rules in New York. We don't want to give a pregnant woman sitting down on the side of the street waiting for a bus a ticket because there's no seats on the bus stop. We don't want to give somebody throwing the wrong thing in the wrong trash can, a $500 ticket. We've been ordered to. Even that corrupt union doesn't like doing what they're doing. Even the most corrupt police force in the country, at least the most arrogant from what I've seen and out of control, they don't like this, but they're ordered to. And that leads me to this article that I'm having reposted because it came out yesterday evening at the top of Infowars.com. It's a big deal. You've seen the Army documents and the Homeland Security documents saying returning veterans are the #1 threat, gun owners, conservatives, libertarians. We broke that news the last 4 years with law enforcement sending it to us that are freaked out and should be by this information, who aren't completely brainwashed when they go to meetings and the founding fathers are bad-mouthed and gun owners are bad-mouthed and veterans are bad-mouthed. That's the bad guys that talk like that. I mean, this is pretty obvious. Sounds like something you'd hear in a Soviet re-education camp. U.S. Army characterizes people frustrated with mainstream ideologies as terrorists. Individuals who, quote, believe in government conspiracies also framed as violent radicals. And it says they are extremists. They are terrorists. You've got to go read the full manual. And this is public. I'm going to be going more over that. But first I want to get to this. Intelligence effort named citizens not terrorists. Associated Press, October 3rd. Well, they had the head of the air marshals for the district that's there in Colorado a few years ago. He said, look, I'm blowing the whistle. I'm not going to be part of this. We're ordered to put 7-year-old kids in a lifetime terrorist database if they've got a camera taking pictures of the airplanes. We're ordered to put people in databases if they order a vegetarian meal. I'm not doing this anymore. Last time they declassified it, it was 2 million plus people in the terror database. Congress people, media people. It's pure persecution. I know I'm on the harassment list, not the no-fly list, because they try to drag me off now when I fly. And they know who I am, and they laugh at me, and I'm like, you really feel good about yourself. Be quiet, troublemaker. Heard your show yesterday, by the way. That's our country. I mean, this is real. This is really happening. And they're hiring people that like to steal from you. They don't care. Everyone I know has been robbed by the TSA, including me. I know me best. Intelligence effort names citizens as terrorists. And here it is. They target people fishing and marriage counseling as terrorists. That's right, folks. That's right. I mean, how many times has it been leaked or people sued and done FOIA requests and Alex Jones, Drudge Report? It's all in there. That's I mean, they'll have, police constantly reading intelligence cables, I put that in quotes, about, and Jones thinks there might be a global government, and that's part of his hate, and it may lead to officers being killed. Global government, every time I open up the Financial Times of London, it's announcing the world government and how all my rights are being taken. I mean,
everything we said came true. Everything we've done's been right.
The real world is spinning around us. What you see on the television, what the globalists try to distort, is a twisted version of reality. All of us see through rose-colored glasses. None of us have all the answers. Everything we do is distorted in one way or the other. That is the non-perfection, which is the perfection of humanity and God's plan. But if you're tuning in for the first time, you have found at the tip of the spear in the fight to awaken humanity to the globalists, to the parasites that seek to dumb you down, who seek to remove your destiny of liberty and freedom from you. We simply go with the truth. We simply go with the best information we have and attempt to tell it like it is. That is our agenda. That is what we stand for. Freedom and more of it. I'm going to get back into U.S. Army characterizing people frustrated with mainstream ideologies, that's a quote, as terrorists. You don't like the dying dinosaur media, the mainstream ideologies that everyone's abandoning? Every poll shows it. I mean, Congress has a 9% approval rating last time I checked. The highest is about 11%. So it's just like 8%, 9% in polls believe the official story of the Kennedy assassination. And the media says 90% of us or more that we are dangerous conspiracy theorists. A tiny minority of people who don't even believe it themselves, but understand it's part of the establishment mantra, tell us we've got a problem because we live in the real world. Well, keep trying to frame the debate, keep trying to control reality, keep trying to tell us that you're history's actors and that you'll change reality moment to moment, and we'll just follow that new reality. No. Enter the sound of a record being stopped, the needle being drug across it. Game over. We see through you, we're aware of the fraud, and now no matter how elaborate or how fancy the distraction is, no matter how thick the fog is, we can smell the stench of your lies. Game over. Even the most simple-minded know the system isn't their friend. Even the most simple-minded know the establishment's out of control. Even the most simple-minded know that we're in danger, Will Robinson, danger. So I'll be getting back into this, and a bunch of the military news is off the charts, the economic news, the GMO news, and a bunch of other news ahead of Gerald Celente and others joining us. Gerald, one of the most popular guests we have on. And I don't just have somebody on if they're popular. I have them on if I like them, too. I mean, what you hear on the air is what I think is interesting, and I'm glad that it resonates with you. But if I spend all day trying to figure out what you want to hear and trying to, give you what you want, well, this wouldn't be the #1 alternative radio show in the world. People want reality. They want truth. They don't want something that's polished. People want freedom with all the rough edges that come with it and more of it, as I said. Briefly, we came out with the September issue, the economic collapse, banksters plot to destroy U.S. economy. Also, banksters brag that they've conquered the United States. We sold out of 37,000 of them in less than 2 days. I held back 3,000 so that when we had the subscription start in October, you would get the first issue plus the next 12 for $59.95. That includes shipping. And so now the only way to get the original one, because they're totally sold out other than the ones we held back, is to sign up for the subscription. The introductory offer will end very soon because we'll be sold out of the 3,000 in the next day or so at the way these subscriptions are selling. But the most important thing is this is print 2.0. Old print's dying mainly because of the propaganda. Even mainline media is dying online. These statistics show, you can pull them up, because people don't trust mainstream media. These are pamphlets, but they're big. 48 pages long, but they are pamphleteer stuff with hardcore, vital, super hard-hitting, not mincing words, info designed to wake up friends and family. People are kind of fatigued by links and videos and things. At least a lot of them are being sent to them in their inbox. But if you give someone, which essentially is like a little book with graphics and all the rest of it, with shocking headlines, because reality is shocking, reality is sensational. In fact, words don't describe how sensational it is. They tend to read it. And incredible effects with the 90,000 that hit the streets one way or another. We put 50,000 on the streets of Austin, print another 40,000, 37,000 sold out. We printed a little more than 50,000 extra to sell this time. And so, again, they are selling out quick at this rate. They'll be sold out in about a week. You can buy them in bulk at cost in 10 packs up to 100 packs, and shipping is included in the price. But support us, but also support truth and liberty. In fact, really don't support us, because the only way we'll lose money is if you don't buy all of them. We don't make money. I mean, I had it all numbered out here to sell these at cost as a outreach, just like we give free citizen rule books with famous quotes, Bill of Rights, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, in every order at Infowars.com, and free bumper stickers and stuff. It's all about that outreach. That's the overarching mission in our hierarchy of needs. Sure, we need to make money to fund ourselves, and I wear that hat of a businessman, who's out there finding products I believe in to promote them and push them so that we can be truly independent. And that's because of you supporting us. So be sure and also support our local AM and FM affiliates, sponsor them, support their sponsors, let them know you support them, and spread the word. That is absolutely vital, because the most of our audience is AM and FM. Even though we're #1 on the web, it is still a fraction of what our giant AM and FM audience is. But I'm now digressing. Infowarsstore.com to get the new October issue in bulk, or you can sign up for a subscription and get the first issue along with the second issue and the next 12 issues. You get 13 issues for the price of 12, shipping included. Infowarsstore.com, or link through at Infowars.com or PrisonPlanet.com, or call 888-253-3139, 888-253-3139. Or you can write to us. No shipping that needs to be added, just $59.95. Shipping included on your next 12, 13 issues. P.O. Box 19549, Austin, Texas, 78760. Also, I should add here that it's very, very important to give this as an early Christmas gift, because we don't have time to play games. You can send 12 issues, or 13, Just sign up online and put your friends, family, or businesses or libraries, because then they'll place it in the periodic area. Sign it up for your local library. You'll put 13 of these in the library. I mean, just think of ways like that. Because let me tell you, somebody sees a giant black pyramid with a pile of skulls and a robot with wires hooked into its head, they're going to open this up. Most publications where they put out 50,000 in Austin, there's only a few that do it, it takes a month for them to get picked up. We put 50 to 100 of these out at over 1,000 locations. Most of them are gone within 2 days. So again, if we can make this successful, which we're starting to do, I've already got over, I don't know what it is, it's a massive number of major publishers, local newspaper publishers in foreign countries, in Australia, in Europe, in New York. They're all knocking our doors down, ready to print these in your city with half the content local. I mean, this is a big deal we're doing. All right, side issue, I'm ranting. InfoWarsStore.com, order the magazine today. And again, I want to thank you all for your support. And get the yearly subscription. Okay, let me get back into this top story here, because this is such a big deal. I'm having it reposted at the top of InfoWars.com. U.S. Army characterizes people frustrated with mainstream ideologies as terrorist. Individuals who believe the government conspiracies, that's a quote, are framed as violent radicals. Go read the Army manual yourself. A leaked U.S. Army document obtained by Wired Magazine, this is Wired Magazine, characterizes people. Hey, Wired Magazine, why don't you report on the Army admitting their new manual says FEMA camps for the American people? Only RT covered it. That's been out for over 3 months. Folks, we need to force that out. A leaked U.S. Army document obtained by Wired Magazine characterizes people frustrated with mainstream ideologies as potential terrorists, while also framing those who believe in government conspiracies as violent radicals. You know who wrote this? Southern Poverty Law Center, ADL. You can tell they wrote it. This stuff's regurgitated over and over again. I've been reading the same stuff for 15 years. These are some warning signs that you have been turned into a terrorist who will soon kill your coworkers, according to U.S. military. You recently changed your choices in entertainment. Oh, yeah, locking your desk is in another manual. You have peculiar discussions, which people consider talking about freedom, evil and weird. That's why we've had people call police on us on the streets of Austin talking about liberty with video cameras. InfoGuard it's calling the cops on us. You complain about bias. Oh, my gosh. Like, hey, it's not fair they paid $20+ billion to ship GM to China. You're socially withdrawn and you're frustrated with mainstream ideologies. And it just goes on from there. Complain about bias, frustrated with mainstream ideologies, visiting extremist webs or blogs. I'd have to call Wired that because they cover the tyranny all the time because they know that's popular. Alternative reading habits. Oh, my gosh, reading? What's alternative? Highly emotional, using social networks. Well, there you go. You're a terrorist. Now, let me move along to the next report. This was never about al-Qaeda that the globalists run. I'm getting to that in a moment. Intelligence efforts names citizens not terrorist. AP. Now, I've been telling you this for 11 years, that you're going to have to get a job. To get a job, you're going to get Homeland Security approval. That's now happening. You're going to face scan to buy and sell. That's now happening. They're going to give you trusted traveler cards, but you'll still get grubbed. And the whole thing in the manuals is about gun owners, libertarians, returning veterans, patriots, land rights activists, people that are protesting the TSA. That's who they say the terrorists are. And I always told you they would expand to the highways, streets, and roads. They're now doing that because they said they'd do it. It's not like I was, just imagining this. And it goes on. A multi-billion-dollar information sharing program created in the aftermath of 9/11 has improperly collected information about innocent Americans and produced little valuable intelligence on terrorism. A Senate report concludes it portrays an effort that ballooned far beyond anyone's ability to control. No, it was designed to. I've shown you the John Elway training video where it says, does someone have a snorkel in their car? Does someone have a camera in their car? Is someone asking cops for directions? Oh, it said being friendly in one of these federal training manuals they gave the state police in Colorado. Being friendly. Yeah, I've played these videos on air, these training videos that were sent to us that say restricted. Well, we're going to show them. I mean, it's are they wearing blue jeans? They say that. Are they particularly friendly? That's why one time an alarm went off at my house. The cops show up. I go outside in my shorts, and I went, yeah, the wind's been blowing. I think it made that pressure lock. Thank you for coming out. And the cops both knew who I was. Well, because I asked them after. And, the male cop was older. He's like, all right, thank you. And I shook his hand. And the woman was looking at me real crazed. And she goes, let me see your ID. And luckily, was wearing shorts with pocket, and I brought my wallet out just knowing it. And I was so tired, I go, here it is. And she still, because it was like the fact that I smiled at them. And when I said something like, how's it going tonight? Busy night? Yeah, this is when they're leaving. This isn't she wanted to see my ID up front. It was like, hey, busy night? And she turns around, oh, and I'm like, oh, God, the training. You're going to ask for my ID, aren't you? I mean, it's so pathetic. And they both knew who I was. And I was like, wait a minute. She's looking at my ID, and I go, you know who I am. She's like, still checking. See, it's about mindlessness. It's like when you see a 75-year-old man. I've seen them on walkers over 80 buying pipe tobacco, and the young punk behind the Walgreens counter demands to see their ID. Or an old man buying a bottle of wine who can hardly walk at the local grocery store, and they do it. And I go, why do you do that? We're just told to. Yeah, it's about mindlessness. It's about you're not allowed to ever navigate anything yourself. And that's how it is. I can't tell you how many times we get put in intelligence files because we're out doing an interview, and the cops just pull up and go, we want your IDs. Well, we're just here interviewing citizens on the sidewalk. Still, we got a call because they've taught all these InfraGard, hundreds of thousands of them and growing, that it's terrorist to even ask questions. What began as an attempt to put local, state, and federal officials, not servants, in the same room analyzing the same intelligence, no, it's under federal control, has instead cost huge amounts of money for data mining software. Yeah, that means violating your Fourth Amendment. Flat screen televisions, and in Arizona, 2 fully equipped Chevy Tahoes that are used for communicating, investigators from. Well, that's nothing. This is a total whitewash. They spent $2 billion in New York alone on microphones. By the way, they're now putting microphones up. They put them in first 13 years ago in Austin. Now citywide, they're putting in hidden microphones. And it's not even an issue. People are like, oh, big deal, there's a microphone. I mean, the government is out of control. That's beyond 1984. It was a secret in 1984 that Big Brother had microphones hidden in the park because even people wouldn't put up with it in 1984. Here, we're like, what's the big deal? Hell, half the neighbors are dying of cancer. Want to eat some GMO? It's like, don't pay attention to what's going on here. And here's another article on it. Homeland Security Fusion Centers target phishing marriage counseling. I mean, that's terrorism. And that's why my uncle and my dad are driving along with a deer in the back, with the back bed down openly, and the state police guy pulls him over, freaking out with his hand on his gun, shaking. Just because all citizens are terrorists. And then they shot the deer. It's legal, lawful, everything's fine. Doesn't care. He freaks out, wants to take him to jail. It's just total mental illness. Total mental paranoia illness. And then the cops start stuff with the public and start stuff with veterans. And then you actually are going to get the fight that you're looking for. The globalists know what they're doing. They're teaching you that the American people that know what's going on are terrorists, so you'll go out and start arresting us, rounding us up, and then people are going to start defending themselves, and then, you know what happens? It's called civil war. It's all been demographicked out. It's all been actuaried. It's all been broken down. It's the plan. And then the globalists are going to take your pension funds and devalue your dollar and ruin your life, cops and military. You're in the same boat as the American people, and you really ought to decide which side you're on right now. A federal effort to share intelligence about terror threats with state and local governments has produced no evidence of any. Well, of course, because the globalists run the terror attacks. But it does appear to have caught a motorcycle gang telling members to obey laws, suspicious fishing at the border, and Muslims offering advice on marriage, success in reading. That's according to a report by the Senate. It just goes on. Ladies and gentlemen, and the cops think you're so dumb when they're putting you in a database and ask you questions. And they got nurses doing it. Everybody's a secret agent. You go to Target or any store, half the kids' toys in some areas are nothing but spy stuff and how to spy on your parents. And in the cartoons, everybody's a spy. And all these nobodies are on such power trips when they creep around and think they're James Bond. You're not James Bond. You're a Stasi joke snitch, okay? It ain't sexy. You want to spy on somebody, spy on the banks that hijacked and took this country over. Hey, you want to spy on somebody, go spy on the labels on the food and the vaccines. You know, go read that, the open intelligence all around you, the evil hiding in the living room. Alex Jones here with a message to fellow freedom lovers. The prognosis for the entire planetary economic system runs from bad to worse. The globalist model is to shut down societies and starve patriots out until they acquiesce to the global takeover. That's why we've assembled the most vital and important preparedness items at InfoWarsShop.com. These are items that I did research on, that I personally use. You've got the life straw, so you can turn fetid water into safe water anywhere you go. The K-Tor hand crank generator to charge up key equipment during power outages or out in the field. Strategic Relocation, 3rd edition by Joel Skousen. When Disaster Strikes by Matthew Stein. ThyroSafe, used by Homeland Security to protect yourself during any radiological event. Hand crank shortwave AM/FM radios. Everything that we've researched and found to be the best is available at InfoWarsShop.com, and your purchase makes our InfoWar possible. We're getting prepared. Are you? InfoWarsShop.com. So we have criminal mafias that control unlimited fake money that they have our governments make us accept at gunpoint, running our planet. And there are really only 9 or 10 major food crops that are GMO. But it's over 90% of worldwide corn in the industrialized world. Wheat's now GMO, a lot of it. Big studies out just last week about it, sterilizing the rats, because they engineer it in. Every one of these GMOs is not deadly by accident. I mean, there could be probably properly tested GMO, just like there could probably be some real science behind vaccines. We're not debating all of that. At least I'm not. It's that global eugenicists sworn to reduce our population are running it. People caught doing thousands of lethal tests on little kids and minorities and veterans and active duty. People go into the VA to have something done on them, and they just inject you with something and kill you to see what it does. And then it's in the news. Yeah, the government killed some people. It's no big deal, though. Nobody's getting in trouble. We're sorry, though. See, this is what I'm talking about. These are admitted criminals running things. Of course they shipped guns into Mexico and killed thousands to blame the Second Amendment. Of course it was in mainstream news yesterday, a year after we reported on it or more, that the Sinaloa cartel was working for the CIA shipping drugs in. That was in federal court in February of 2011. It was in the El Paso Times this year. Chicago Tribune. Now it's finally big news. Of course the Sinaloa cartel works for the CIA. The CIA doesn't work for America. It works for foreign banks. Look at who set it up. OSS, British intelligence. That's the foreign arm. The domestic arm was Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones founded it. What's that? Literally a chapter of the Illuminati. You see, truth's stranger than fiction, my friends. And I'm going to mention this briefly here, but then I'm going to cover it more with Gerald Salente when he comes up. Just thought instead of just reading one article about this, I'd just give you a few headlines, just so you understand how widespread it is. We reported on this 5 years ago, and I remember the comments in YouTube saying I was a liar. I said bisphenol A 15 years ago caused men to have sexual conflictions in their glands. It also does it in all mammals. It's not a statement about sexual preference. It's a fact that it's a government program to reduce fertility. And now that's admitted. They had George Soros groups attack me big on that because they do not want that news out. Too late. I go on talk radio shows all the time. They bring it up now. It's well known. Scientists develop genetically modified cows that produce human breast milk. That's Daily Mail. Here's Reuters. Genetically engineered cow milk makes anti-allergy milk. You know, it's funny. Everybody I know has allergies. My grandmother's lived here her whole life, never had allergies, has horrible ones now. Everyone I know is getting horrible allergies to where they can't eat anything, can't go outside. You turn on radio. I don't listen to Brian Seacrest, but I was flipping through XM yesterday and heard him on there talking about with his guest how horrible his allergies are and how, folks, they're spraying us. It's in the food. GMO in major studies makes your whole immune system go into overdrive, not knowing what it's being attacked by. Not knowing what it's eating, because there's all sorts of pesticides and chemicals and animal and insect DNA and this stuff. Your body's like, whoa, what is this? I'm not used to this. So you go into an autoimmune response, you get bowel disorders. It's all on record. then your immune system finally just gives up. And you know what that's called? It's called cancer. Your immune system every week when you're a child, because they can do blood tests, is defeating cancer. Every day past 30, you're beating cancer. What happens when your immune system turns off? What happens to people with HIV, the cancer's all over them? You die. We're all getting the beginnings of new autoimmune disorders. We're being murdered. But don't worry, they're going to have all the treatments. They're going to medicalize us. When healthcare collapses because of this, government now runs it, and it's going to euthanize us. The elite will all get the life extension. And I've got all these big articles how the elite are all not eating GMO and are obsessed with clean water.
Do you understand how dark it is? How far down the line we are? How late it is?
I was just getting into organic food and what's happening with Monsanto and Whole Foods and the rest of it. I'm going to recap that and get to the new news on this front in the next segment. And then I'm going to go to your phone calls. Also, a weekend Dallas earthquakes occur in fracking hotspot. That's now in KUT News. Also, the Associated Press. They've known for decades fracking can cause earthquakes. We're going to be going over some of that. Also, I want to get into State Department says Iran supports al-Qaeda and the Taliban, but NATO supports the Taliban and al-Qaeda. I mean, that's just well known. That's just a fact that is going on and happening. And we are also going to get into the debates coming up tonight and get your takes on all of that. In fact, I'd like to hear from callers about, what do you do? Romney at least says he's against abortion. With Obama, he's openly saying free market's bad, business owners didn't build anything. But we know that Romney will just be a placeholder and will continue everything Obama did, but put conservatives back to sleep. Is there something to Obama getting back in and things just getting worse and worse as fast as possible? The communists have always said that, but that they like things to get bad so they can take over. Well, what about letting Obama stay in and just letting them try to use the re-education camps? Let them come after the guns. Let's just get this thing over with. Because let me tell you, when Mitt Romney gets in, sleepy time. Sleepy, sleepy, sleepy time. Like Sleepy and the Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's what I'm talking about in a big, fat way. And so we're going to be breaking all of that down here on the worldwide transmission. I mentioned this yesterday. I want to get more to it today. 5 million volt cattle prod developed for crowd control, many times more powerful than a taser. And tasers are causing deaths. That's on record. It just gets worse and worse and worse. Where it's just kind of like, oh yeah, he died. The cop shocked him. yeah. Now if you just don't answer questions, courts have ruled they can taser you while in a hospital bed to give a urine sample. Don't believe me, just type in judge rules. You can be tasered to be made to answer questions. That's called tortured to answer questions because they don't call it that. They call it pain compliance. That makes it okay. That makes it no big deal. So we are going to continue to break all of that down. Like I said, though, I'm going to get to this big GMO news on the other side of the break. By the way, I don't want to announce it yet, but Rob Jacobson and Chris Alaniz and the rest of the great crew have set up a really big guest Friday. I'll just leave that surprise for everybody until we have that guest on the transmission Friday. We will also continue with all of the other news on the other side of this quick break. U.S. jail may take Guantanamo men into it. Mob hijackings continue. Police powerless. We own this now, the criminals say. The economic warfare against Iran having a big effect. But there is no war, we're told. That is all coming up today. And I'll give the number out when we come back. The phones aren't open yet, folks. And it's going to be first-time callers. We're going to do that again. Give first-time callers a chance to either get on air or maybe sit on hold for several hours. I'm joking. We will go to your phone calls coming up after I hit the GMO news and a concise, focused report on the other side of this quick break. If you're listening to us on a local AM or FM station, it is so important to tell your coworkers, your friends, your family, people at the grocery store, people at the bank, people on the street. Sometimes I roll down the window on my way to work at a red light and say, hey, I'm going to be on the radio in an hour. Tune into this station. And about half the time in Austin, they go, I know, I'll be listening. But the point is, word of mouth is the most important form of advertising. And we're advertising truth and liberty and freedom. And if our 3 million listeners a day will just tell one more person every day to tune in, it's exponential. You can also tune in always to Infowars.com, PrisonPlanet.com to the free audio streams. You can sign up for the free podcast. Over 600,000 people have. It's in the listen section. But AM and FMs are so important because we can really get a critical mass on those. I mean, so many cities, we end up getting #1 ratings for stations, even small stations up against the big ones. But when we get on the big ones, oh, it's over. So please continue to spread the word. You can also watch the video feeds at prisonplanet.tv. Okay, I want to go to your calls in this hour ahead of Gerald Celente joining us here today in the third hour. Gerald's one of the few guests I have on several times a month because he's so informative and also popular with the audience and popular with me. What you hear on the air is what I like to hear broken down, and I always find the way he breaks it down also entertaining. But I'm getting him on really, so we'll have about 20 minutes of news, whatever he thinks hottest and most important, and then we'll take 40 minutes of your phone calls in the next hour. There's a bunch of other news that I want to be getting into on the economy. In fact, guys, I meant to get to it yesterday, and I didn't. It dovetails with today's economic news. Will you pull me out of the stack yesterday, the strata? It is a big, giant pile in the strata of the economic pile. Thank you. It's just ridiculous how much news I read and study and then don't even cover 1/10 of it because there's so much. Let me hit this first, though. You know that, well, the statistics are there. Cancer's off the charts. Neurological disorders are off the charts. Diabetes is off the charts. The United States leads the world in lowered IQ, in obesity, in organ failure, in neurological disorders, in cancer, in endocrine failure, in illegal drug abuse, in legal drug abuse, in alcoholism. We even beat Russia now. You name it, the United States, with the other European countries behind it, in order, is absolutely burning to the ground spiritually, economically, physically. I mean, those numbers are there. People are like, where's the numbers? Just type in U.S. leads the world in cancer. It's all there. Type in U.S. leads the world in diabetes. U.S. leads the world. U.S. IQ dropping. That doesn't, see, that's not education, folks. That's physically people are dumb. Physically. I mean, farmers, the reports for decades of GMO crops killing their farm animals and they get off of it. The GMO crops are not just splicing 2 different squash species or 2 different corn species. They're not just doing that. They are taking other plants, other animals, insects, and firing them with gene guns into these. And now hundreds of GMO crops are coming out. The main 9 or 10 staples are GMO now. And the United States, again, they're always having this media spin where they're saying things like, oh, we're beating cancer. We have a higher survival rate. And they spin that like we're beating cancer. That'd be like if 1,000 people a day were being shot in your city. But they said, hey, let's not discuss why they're getting shot. We have a survival rate. We're getting so good at treating people who've been shot through the brain that more people are surviving now. You'd be like, yeah, but why are 1,000 people coming in here shot a day? We're not worried about that. We're not even discussing that. No one wants to talk about that. Let's just talk about why how we treat this. That said, everyone I know, including old people, family who've never had allergies in their lives, have allergies off the charts. And what happens is you eat GMO, you eat bisphenol A, sodium fluoride, this cocktail. There's major studies out there on it. Just type in increased allergies linked to GMO, increased allergies linked to chemical additives. It's all there. And people breathe in the pollen that they normally wouldn't be allergic to, or they breathe in GMO pollen, because GMO is being planted everywhere. where there are plants being grown. That stuff blows hundreds of miles. And then you have another autoimmune response because your body's saying, I don't recognize this. And then your body finally gives up and your immune system breaks down, and then you get cancer because cancer is mainly viral. Later in life, when DNA has gotten broken down from radiation from the sun, but also cell phones and things, then you start getting it just because of genetic malfunctions. But most of it is viral. Scientists know this since the 20s. And your body stops fighting it once it's been worn down. It fights, it fights, it fights, it fights, and it finally just gives up. Or you take anti-allergy medications that suppress your immune system, but it also suppresses everything else. It isn't just suppressing your, your problem with cedar or your problem with oak, or your problem with hay fever or mold. Now it suppresses everything. And so it doesn't suppress the cancer and you die. And that's a big part of it. You've heard all the countless scientists, researchers we've had on. I have been focused on this for 17 years. And it is a holocaust that's happening. Pediatric cancers, look it up. Some of them are over 10,000% up. There are hundreds of new cancers never before seen. I mean, we are being murdered. And then there's all these globalist textbooks written by the White House science czar, eco-science, and others, where they say in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, yeah, we're going to engineer stuff into the food and water and reduce population that way and reduce fertility and increase morbidity, reduce population. And now you're just seeing the warm-up as they slowly increase it and then just normalize that everybody's dying and getting sick. To where everybody's like, oh, well, yeah, hundreds and hundreds die a year from tasers killing them. What's the big deal? Lady talked back, she died. You kind of just get used to everybody dying from tasers. Or you get used to, your neighbors. Yeah, both my neighbors got cancer. Yeah, his wife's 25. She's got cancer. Yeah, well, we went to her funeral last week. Anyways, we got a tee up here in an hour. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going in. I got a lump. I'm going in next week. Oh, I got it too. And then you go be part of the jog to find the cure, never find the cause. Because they know humans are actually really tough. If we're not told by tribal leaders to be scared of something, we're not scared of a Tyrannosaurus Rex. Okay, we're not scared of, the scariest thing we can imagine. If everybody acts like they're not scared, if everybody just shows courage, well, let's go fight it. See, humans are totally programmable. But if you teach people to be scared, oh my gosh, police see a Ron Paul sticker on average, they are shaking in fear that person's going to kill them if they pull them over because they were told the Ron Paul supporters want to kill them in the Homeland Security reports, even though statistically that's not true. It's all about the perception. So that said, now because of allergies, I told you this was coming, they're going to come out with, oh, since you're all sick, you all have these disorders now, don't worry, they're going to come out with designer foods, designer drugs. For those of you, that was always the plan of Monsanto and others, is to take over where there is no longer any real viable non-GMO. Then everybody gets sick from it, and then they're a drug company. They then sell you the treatment for what they've given you. The ultimate business plan. And here it is. Genetically engineered cow makes anti-allergy milk. In China, New Zealand, other places, they're producing it. And it's human genes in the udders of the cows that produces a human milk, but it's part cow. Those cows are part human. Now zoological diseases can jump species between the two. Top scientists have warned. Here's one in Guardian. GM cow designed to produce milk without an allergy-causing protein. Why are your allergies going way up, though? See, they give you the allergies, then they come out with something that'll supposedly fix it, which will cause other problems. But it takes so long to kill you. It takes so long to make you sick. It's why it's called soft kill. You die 20 years later, you don't know why, from complications from a cocktail of stuff. Genetically modified cow produces allergy-free milk. Research from study, DAISY, could benefit infants allergic to specific protein. Continuing, scientists create GM cow to cut milk allergies. Scientists fret over FDA slowness on genetic altered animals. We're already eating cloned supplies of meat, folks. Franken scientists announced mutant GMO cows to produce engineered milk from human babies. Daily Mail, scientists developed genetically modified cows to produce human breast milk. And it goes on and on. China's genetically modified cows produce human milk. They call it human. And they don't want it to be listed. They want to make you drink it with whatever they've backdoored, engineered onto it from China. Chinese military was drinking it 5 years ago. I showed newscast here from China of it. Now, what do we have on that front? Oh, Obama. Just type in Obama, White House only eats organic. George W. Bush was the same. They have an all-organic garden. The Obamas turned the White House organic. Michelle Obama enlarges the White House organic garden. There's all the headlines. Big stack of those, LA Times, you name it. And then here's Mother Jones with links to the Telegram and Gazette, 2002, and a bunch of other articles where the Romneys gave profile interviews where he said all they eat is organic. But he's the king of Monsanto, funding them and helping them get everything approved and ramming it through, and so is Obama. And then I have the articles here where the Chinese elite only eat organic, the British royalty only eats organic, the Dutch royalty only eats organic. Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.